Hello from the Hanamichi headquarters. It is lunchtime on a Thursday afternoon. Sat in my garden, and Marx is basking in the shade by my chair. This week I've been exploring the word instrument, and I haven't yet touched on musical instruments, so I thought, as it's Thursday and the week is flying by, I should talk a little bit about a musical instrument. And the one I want to focus on today is the shamisen. Why? Because it's, forgive the pun, instrumental to kabuki, and one that I think is extremely beautiful and perhaps not quite as well known as say, the piano or cello or guitar. So I was doing some listening to shamisen music this morning and thinking about what I like about the shamisen. And I've come up with three sort of topics or facets that I wanted to share with you today. The first is the origins. I think it's always interesting to know where an instrument came from and how it came into being. There are many elements and paths that the shamisen has travelled through to get to where it is today, but importantly, it originated in the 16th century in China, and the shamisen is essentially an evolution of the Chinese instrument called the sanshin, which entered Japan first through Okinawa. And at the time, the sanshin was made with snakeskin, but there weren't snakes big enough in Japan to cover this base of the instrument. So catskin was used instead, and it developed over time into the shamisen with minor, developments and differences in terms of the materials used, etc. So, arrived into Japan from Okinawa, initially from China, and has developed particularly fast over the Edo period. This was when kabuki blossomed and the arts of haiku, ikebana, and lots of other art forms flourished in the Edo period. And the shamisen became the quintessential instrument of kabuki and was used as part of the storytelling process. To this day, it still is the chief instrument of the Japanese drama kabuki. And an element that I found fascinating when I first discovered it is that in kabuki, you will always have the opening pluck. Now, the opening pluck is a signal, a highly symbolic and dramatic signal to the audience that the play is beginning. So, if you imagine the auditorium at the Kabukiza in Tokyo, and people flooding in, taking their seats, having lots of chatter, and there's lots of excitement, and then suddenly you've got this sharp and confident pluck of the shamisen strings, alerting the audience to get themselves physically and mentally and spiritually prepared as the play is about to begin. Now, this opening pluck serves a few different functions. It, of course, is designed to grab the attention of the audience, but it's also believed to represent the drum or the gong, and in that way symbolizes the summoning of spirits or the start of a ritualistic performance. So it's more deeper than just telling people to sit down and shut up. But also, this powerful sound of the opening pluck is thought to cleanse the audience space and the performance space and create an atmosphere conducive to the theatrical magic of kabuki. How lovely is that? This idea that this kabuki is not just about entertainment or escapism. It's about the multifaceted nature of transformation, and perhaps this idea that the person that you arrive into the building of the kabuki theatre is not the same person that leaves at the end. And you've gone to the theatre not just to laugh and enjoy the pleasures of highly skilled performers, but to transform and feel cleansed in a sense. So it's a fundamental element of the traditional Japanese arts, not just of kabuki, but Noh theatre, bugaku, gagaku, kyogen. Lots of these traditional forms of Japanese theatre embrace this element of ceremony, ritual, and that sort of essence or magic. And finally, I want to briefly say that there's quite an exciting resurgence in terms of the shamisen. I went to a concert at the very beginning of this year, which featured Hibiki Ichikawa performing alongside some of his students. And it's really exciting to see lots of young people, but also older people, but just a huge hunger for learning this instrument, the shamisen. And Hibiki's been responsible for setting up and giving opportunities to students to participate in these global shamisen competitions. And there's also lots of developments taking place in terms of the technology of shamisen. So there's kind of new instruments which are embracing electronic music. So there's an electronic shamisen and all sorts of very, very, very fascinating developments that's expanding the expressive power of the instrument. So that's all very exciting. And finally, to give you a taste of some shamisen music, I was listening to a song this morning called Find a Place by Hibiki Ichikawa. And this piece is not typically the shamisen music that I think one would expect. Usually when I think of the shamisen, I think of this kind of very powerful, explosive, quite masculine energy. But this particular piece is very romantic, very contemplative, and lends itself, I think, to just meditating on thoughts and enjoying a moment and kind of an internal reflection as well. I mean, it's called Find a Place, and so I want to share that with you and hope you enjoy it.